How does a tiny little acorn become a giant, massive oak tree? First, the acorn has to survive. Survive, guys, like this one. So it can germinate, root itself into the ground, and begin its lifelong journey to reach upwards towards the sun, one day becoming a huge, sturdy oak tree, like the ones you may see at a park.
Elastic tubes and pots and pans, bits and pieces, and the magic from the hands will make the weird signs. Things I've never seen before. Behind closed doors, and imagination, weird science. Not what teachers said to do, making dreams come true. Living tissue, warm flesh, weird science.
Photosynthesis is a process in which organisms, known as autotrophs, make their own food. Photosynthesis occurs in plants, algae, and cyanobacteria. Photosynthesis uses the energy from sunlight to power the steps that use water and carbon dioxide in the environment to make glucose, and as a waste product, oxygen.
Hi everybody, I'm here with Clary, and we're going to be doing an experiment to look at the sugars that are in some of these things that we have. Now, we've been studying photosynthesis, and photosynthesis is the process by which plants take energy from the sun along with the carbon dioxide and water in the environment, and they make a sugar. Now, this sugar is called glucose.
Glucose is a simple sugar, and when we think of sugar, we usually think of sweet. So, how can a huge tree, along with all of the other plants on Earth, be made of sugar?
It's a good question, Claire.
In this experiment, we're putting glucose into a beaker and putting it over a high flame. The heat from the flame is going to break down the glucose into its constituent atoms. As you see, the glucose is boiling and turning black. What's happening is that the water in the glucose is evaporating, as you can see by the steam coming out, and the carbon, the black, is what is remaining. Glucose is an organic molecule that contains the constituent atoms carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Let's count the carbons in a glucose. You'll see there are 6 carbons in a glucose. There are 12 hydrogens in a glucose. And there are 6 oxygens in a glucose. When we heated the glucose, what we did was we added enough energy to take away the bonds between these atoms. What happened was the carbon, the black part, was left in the bottom of the beaker, and the hydrogen and oxygen rearranged to become water. These water left as steam while the carbon remained in the beaker. Glucose is a monosaccharide. Plants use glucose to make 2 important polysaccharides.
So now what we are going to do is the iodine test. And what it does is it tests for polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are long chains of monosaccharides.
This is the color of iodine by itself.
The color of iodine is a brownish reddish color without interacting with anything.
This is salt.
When iodine interacts with salt, it's a brownish yellowish color, so it's a negative result.
This is dry milk.
When powdered milk interacts with iodine, it is a negative result.
These are Rice Krispies.
When Rice Krispies interacts with the iodine, it is a positive result.
These are dehydrated mashed potatoes.
When the potato interacts with the iodine, it's also a black color, giving it a positive result.
This is oatmeal.
The oats, once again, turns a black color, giving it a positive result.
This is a piece of paper.
Iodine interacts with paper, indicating a positive result.
The paper, which is made of wood, tests positive for polysaccharides, just like the other plant products, rice, potatoes, and oats. But what polysaccharide? After all, we don't eat paper.
Hey guys, Matt here. Today we're going to be talking about glucose. This right here is a Lego. It is going to represent one glucose molecule, a monosaccharide. When you take a bunch of monosaccharides and put them together, you get a polysaccharide. One example of a polysaccharide is cellulose. Another example of a polysaccharide, which is also made of glucose, is starch. Both polysaccharides are made of glucose. They're just put together. Starch stores energy in the plants, and cellulose builds cell walls for the plants. We humans, we can break down starch like this with enzymes. However, we can't break down cellulose. Very few organisms, like fungi and bacteria, can. So, trees are made up of cells. Cells have cell walls. Cell walls are made of cellulose, and cellulose is made up of glucose.
Carbon dioxide in the air is used to make glucose. Glucose makes cellulose needed for plant cells, so all plants owe their mass to carbon dioxide.
From my heart and from my hand, why don't people understand my intention? With science, elastic tubes and pots and pans.